Yes, and welcome to our Friday edition of the Gareth Cliff Show live on the Real Network. Just after Workers' Day yesterday, I don't like calling it Workers' Day. I don't like anything about Workers' Day because it's a commie fucking holiday. Communists celebrate Workers' Day, I will not. It's nonsense that it's even included in our schedule of holidays. But I enjoyed the day. I mean, I did like having a Thursday off. I'll normally come in on a Friday after a Thursday holiday and complain. But there's no resentment here. I'm very happy to be here on this Friday morning. And had yesterday not been a holiday, I would have been happy to work too. See, that's because I'm not a worker, but I like work. How's that? How does that gel with you this morning?
Makes sense. Makes sense. Hi, Gareth. Also, Workers' Day, yet there's so much unemployment. I mean, come on, just scrap it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's patronizing, actually.
Yeah, and also the people who are actually working are doing all the heavy lifting. There's about 20 million South Africans who are depending on those of us who work. So just think about this, all right? If you feel insignificant, not so important, you got, self-esteem issues, who knows? Just stop, because you are absolutely essential to the functioning of this country. We cannot afford to lose one person like you. If you are some unemployed layabout, lazy sack of shit, then certainly we could do without you. But those who work are keeping this entire house of cards afloat. So keep doing it. Keep working hard there. If you took Workers' Day as a celebration of that, I'm all for it.
Silver lining, yeah, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to look at those. So I see Bitcoin But's very, very excited. He said, have you taken my advice and adopted Bitcoin? Because he's Bitcoin But. He says, we're about to go parabolic. So I don't know. Is there something happening in the Bitcoin world that I'm not aware of?
It's been a good week. It's been a good week. Up to $97,000, I think it is currently.
Okay. All right.
As we look at it, 97,167.82.
Why? What's happened?
Surging a bit, Gareth. Fuck knows.
Yeah,
This is the thing about Bitcoin, right? I think it's the future. I believe in all those kind of things, and I like the idea behind it. But when guys go, oh, I'm predicting this, I'm predicting that, I mean, come on. It's like star signs. People will buy it, and there's ups and downs, and it reflects on certain markets. I get all that.
Yeah.
But then you get all these people who are like, okay, yeah, this is going to go on a run now. It's like, do we all come together and make this like a thing?
Well, I mean, I can't pretend that I know all about it. I've spoken to some of the brightest people in South Africa, and some even who are internationally well known about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and, the decentralized ledger and all the important concepts that you need to kind of have your head in if you want to understand the stuff. And I still can't claim to know a goddamn thing.
But it's just they move words around. So whenever there's a bit of a go on Bitcoin, I always go onto the internet to look at what the headlines are from these fucking sites who pretend to know everything.
They don't know.
And it's always cut, paste, and the same words from previous times.
Yeah. No. I can't imagine. All right. So let's get into a couple of things. First of all, if you're concerned, as anybody would be, that Simpiwe's not here. Her gran died, and she's very close to her grandmother.
Gosh.
And she often used to talk about her on the show. So Sim's had a bit of a rough couple of days, and our thoughts are with her. I also just want to tip you off this morning. I woke up to 4 missed calls from Flex, the producer. I was like, shit. You know when you like have a panic? I realized my phone was on silent, so I could hear my alarms, and my alarm had gone off, and I'd have had a shower. When I got out of the shower, 4 missed calls from Flex.
Does Flex normally call you? Or just...
No, James usually does.
And
so
James
just
delegated it to Flex.
And then Flex says the following. So I'm like, my immediate response to Flex is like, is everything all right? And he replies with this, which is a terrifying thought. He goes, yes, I'm going to wake James up now. His phone is off. They live right near each other. So apparently then James his phone had died. No, I mean, that's never a good sign. So with mine on silent, James is dead. Thank God we have one responsible person here. So
Flex,
kudos to Flex this morning, I think. That's
Flex, I just want you to know that's not how the whites work, eh? I mean, I was up. I was up.
The what?
Boss James over there just taking it easy. But thank you.
You do anything fun for the public holiday?
Nah, not really. I had a nice gym workout. So I'm going to.
I like that they're open on a public holiday.
Yeah, until
It's usually-
2 though, which is a bit dicky because then you
Oh,
got to
they
like
close at 2.
Yeah, you got to structure your day differently. But so I've been doing this. I mean, wanted to gain weight. I told you a while ago I did this whole
You're
like
trying to get to your optimal,
genetic
87
Yeah, like what's the ultimate genetic sort of composition I could have as far as muscle,
on your frame.
muscle mass to frame. So I put on 2.5 kilograms in a month,
Huh.
which I'm actually pretty excited about. For me, that's a lot.
I mean, for some people, that's just 2 meals.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to have this conversation because everyone goes, oh, well, I wish I could lose weight. It's like, it's not about you. Shut up. So I'm now up to 85, which is cool. But I'm going to Scotland in 2 weeks' time. So in May, I'm going to be a golfer again. Because I can't be like lifting heavy weights and golfing at the same time.
No.
It's just that they're out of sync with each other.
Right.
My golf game has gone to shit a little bit. But this weekend, I'm turning it around. So today's my last like big
Well, you won't
workout.
get fat in Scotland. I can promise you their food is horrific.
No, I won't get fat. I mean, just in general.
But Scotland, their food is horrific. That's
Well,
a very important consideration.
We're going to be in St Andrews, which is it's a nice town. I've been there before. I was there so literally 10 years ago to like now. So what I want to do
Okay.
for the rest of my life is do decade trips to St Andrews.
And you can do that until you're 80 years old.
Absolutely, and I'll have the same friends, health, everything going well.
Well,
And
when
we can
we
do it.
were in Sun City, when Ben and I went there the other day for our childish going on the slides and rides, we met up with a 4-ball of guys who apparently get together every year and play for the 4 majors, but
Yeah.
they do it together. Now, I saw this clip yesterday about some guy on a talk show in Britain somewhere. He said the coolest feeling in his life, and he's never going to give up on it, is going away with his friends, his guy friends, and just doing guy things, like playing golf or, going out on the town or whatever it is that you do with your friends. And that's hugely important. He said the reality is that as you get older, you get less and less of that.
Yep.
Because you have responsibilities. Essentially, being with your guy mates is the opposite of responsibility. Everybody's completely like responsible for themselves. You'll obviously look after each other, but mostly it's like irresponsible. That's why you want to do it.
Carefree.
Yeah, carefree. Let's say that, because otherwise you've got the kids or a wife or kids and wife or
Work.
things you have to bring in for
Having
work.
to wake up James.
Or exactly. Wake up James, like Flex, such responsibility. He doesn't want that. So this guy was talking about how important it is for men to keep up those kinds of relationships. Otherwise, their lives get horrible.
Well, it's just those endless memories. Like I know my memories. So I went to my best friend 10 years ago. Now I'm going to be going with 3 other guys this time round.
This is to St Andrews.
Yeah, a good friend of mine moved to England, and I don't think he's played much golf or had much time with his friends since then. So we're going to do that. But
That's
like
cool.
another thing we spoke about on the Bounce Show this week was SA's best sports jewels,
Oh, yeah?
and how guys need to use those as excuses to do that. So it doesn't have to be like a big, amazing trip overseas. It can just be, right, this match is being played at what date? We're going to get together and we're going to spend the day together.
Huh.
And sports jewels are great. So that episode's obviously on the Real Network's YouTube channel right now.
Very good.
It was lots of fun. My mate, who's a serial sports jeweler, Welcome Plessy, he was our guest, and he's done all the trips. He's done all the things.
Sports jeweler.
And you go out with this guy. He's got so many friends because he's invested so much in that. He's had a great life. It's something to admire.
By the way, I've just been reminded in the comments by Michelle that this show turns 1 this year in its current incarnation at the Real Network. I mean, we've been doing the Gareth Cliff Show for what, 11 years?
2014.
Yeah, 2014 to 2024, and now it's 2025. So yeah, 11 years, and very cool. So thank you very much for reminding me. That's very good news.
I like how on your comment.
Yeah, it's also nice. The whole thing looks a little tidy, and we're getting better and better. So, we got to keep improving. I don't want you to come here and go, oh, my God, this show looks like 2024. We got to keep moving. Right, guys? Yeah. Okay. Speaking of the comments, that's a good point. Did Flex find James on the shitter?
Big reputation that James poos a lot, huh?
A lot. There's a lot of that going on.
Takes a lot of time for
whenever
number
he's
2.
missing in the office, people are like, well, he must be on the shitter.
When it comes to number 2, James is number 1.
And then this is good. We got to talk about this at some point. It's been such a thing all over the internet for the last couple of days. Can 100 men beat one gorilla?
No.
How do you say no? What's your thinking? I can't believe we have to get into this. I mean, maybe it's tired by now, but
it is tired.
You have to answer it. Go.
But we have to look at certain things. If those 100 men are sentenced to death, that's the only chance they have of killing that gorilla. An average man will get so frightened by the frenzy of a gorilla in full flight, they'll shit themselves and run. And gorillas bite, and their heads are made for combat.
And they're strong as fuck.
We don't bite. So our way of killing it is through strangling or blunt force trauma. Our fists aren't big enough. Our arms aren't long or strong enough. So even if we create a human chain to suffocate it, there's a lot of cohesion, there's a lot of composure needed, all of which I don't think 100 men could do.
So you don't think just by sheer numbers we could tire the gorilla? Because I'm thinking that gorillas don't have a lot of stamina.
This is a good point.
Okay,
I've
so
not considered this.
If you had, I don't know what the demarcated area is, whether there is a demarcated area, but you could fan out and tire the gorilla out. And eventually it's going to, and also are men allowed tools? Because if we're allowed
absolutely no tools needed.
No tools, okay. So we can't use sticks, we can't use cudgels, we can't use swords, we can't use guns. Because then the gorilla's fucked.
So you're right. You need to tire it out and then kick it to death.
Yeah, and really, I think 100 men could smother and overwhelm a gorilla.
Yeah, but what happens when the first 20 get killed?
Oh no, the rest must remain composed. But remember that what you're saying is no different to war. You don't stop fighting because 20 guys go down in the first barrage of artillery fire.
I think now they would.
No, but they're a bunch of pussies now.
But conditioned for it.
Let's imagine these 100 men who we would be proud of, not 100 soy boys. If they're 100 soy boys, there's no chance. That gorilla will destroy them. You know.
Yeah. So
I think there are a lot of variables here.
What this has all got me thinking about, and then quite funnily, he did actually talk about it, is that this is basically the Mr. Beast video that everybody wants to see.
I'd love to see him be destroyed by a gorilla.
It's just that if you look at the nature of all his videos, right? They're all crazy like this, and then he makes them. And
come on, man.
And the whole thing is like, this just sounds like a Mr. Beast video waiting to happen. He gets 100 guys together, and the last guy standing gets $1 million, and you got to fight a gorilla.
I wish that, by the way, any women watching the show this morning, you want to know often what men are thinking about. This is the shit we think
endlessly, this kind of stuff.
We're not sitting there thinking about what Daniel said in that conversation at work, or we're not thinking about whether or not we're in love or in lust. We're really not thinking about any of that stuff. We're not thinking about the outcome of a conversation between me and Matilda last Thursday. We're thinking about, could 100 of us take on a gorilla? That's what we think about all the fucking time. Zombie apocalypses, ancient history. I mean, that's like easily 60 to 70% of my time when I'm on my own.
Yeah, I would
thinking about shit like that.
I would never want to hurt a gorilla. I think they're beautiful animals.
Yeah.
They're endangered and all that kind of stuff.
But in a life and death situation.
A life-death situation, I'll take anyone on. But hypothetical situation, this is obviously Mr. Beast's greatest video. Because
I'd love to see
where does he go from here? I mean,
yeah, he's got to ratchet it up now.
Everything
also,
he's in the game of like, what next?
You got to go out at the top, and I don't think there could be a better way for him to go than to be dismembered by a gorilla, torn limb from limb.
Well, obviously he wouldn't do it, Gareth, but he would.
I'd like him to actually man up and do it. But I mean, what's he going to pay someone else to do it?
He's going to get 100 men. Have you not seen his videos?
He's got to be one of them.
Okay, maybe. But you've not seen, like, his videos are big on scale, right? So that he'll have, like, he recreated Squid Games.
Yeah, all right.
He has a factory, a warehouse.
I would like him to be in the vanguard of that activity.
It would be the biggest.
And not because I don't like the guy.
It would be the biggest video of all time if he gets 100 men into a factory warehouse situation which he owns, and then they just unveil a gorilla.
But please, Ben, you know what's going to happen. If the animal rights people be all over
it. Have already said.
Jesus. There's no fun anymore. Can't hunt, can't eat meat, can't fart, can't do anything because of climate change and animal rights.
But
Bunch of people who really would not be able to face down a gorilla, telling the rest of us what to do. By the way, James, Flex, gorilla or 100 men? James says 100 men. Flex? 100 men.
Well, you guys got confidence, so they have composure.
All right.
I look at human nature. People get.
Yeah, a silverback gorilla, which means an old male. Okay, yeah, but those are the strongest ones. Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
what it comes down to is who's the first person that's going to die. The first person who runs up to that gorilla.
No, they're fucked. I mean, the gorilla will just... their head will go like a grape.
It's a gorilla that knows it's being killed.
Have you ever seen what a chimpanzee can do? I mean, if you said to me,
there was a story about a
100
woman.
men versus 100 chimpanzees, then I'd be betting on the chimpanzees.
Oh, any day.
Oh, for sure. Even 10 chimpanzees.
I forget what that woman's name now is. But she had a chimp.
Yeah, the face eater chimp.
Yeah, the chimp just turned on her one day and she just
tore her face off.
just tore it to pieces. Yeah.
She looks like a bad special effects thing now.
She looks like an old banana. It's just
Horrible.
yeah.
Horrible. All right, so very important. Canada had their elections this week. Given the opportunity to fuck up, Canada has fucked up. They've chosen a guy called Mark Carney. I don't know if you know anything about him. Let me give you a very brief CV. He's worked in the world of global finance. He was the chairman of the Bank of Canada, chairman of the Bank of England, supposedly very fiscally and financially smart guy, but then those are precisely the people who got us into the global financial crisis of 2008. And I don't trust one of them. Very much a WEF, World Economic Forum type guy. He's like Trudeau, but not as good looking. Really, that's the only thing I could say about Mark Carney. Very much in the left and in the climate change agenda group, into all kinds of government must be in charge of your life stuff. So I really think Canada fucked up badly. I saw this on the internet just this week as well, which I think is so accurate. Put up that picture of it's a well-known meme now. Not necessarily of Canada, but in this case of Canada. Got it? Yeah. It's okay, I'll wait. I mean, it's just a live show. There we are. I'm not in a good place right now. Are you in Canada? So that's what we know about the guy. So it's not only our country that makes stupid and irrational and self-defeating decisions. Clearly, a country like Canada does the same. I spoke to a friend of mine in Australia, another country that doesn't seem to make very good decisions. I spoke to him just last night, and he said to me he has a friend in Australia who moved there from Canada. This guy was originally from Romania, which is right next door to Bulgaria. Okay, not a great place during the 70s, especially. We had Ceausescu, remember him? Terrible communist dictator, effectively. Anyway, this guy moved from Romania to Canada, and one day his daughter came home and said that the school has told her it's okay for her to use the boys' toilets and for the boys to use her toilets. And he packed up their things and said, we're going to Canada.
Australia.
Yeah, I mean, to Australia from Canada. And he said that, that place has lost its mind. And clearly what happens is when things get too good, and Canada's been an amazing country for a very long time. It's been kind of the star of the show in terms of liberal democracies and countries that just are effective and function properly. There's rule of law. There's kindness and consideration. They're like America, but with a softer, gentler, kind of fuzzier image, right? And they've managed that for a long time. But now it's all gone beyond because of decadence. This always happens, right? So civilization grows and grows and gets better and better and progresses and progresses. And then it reaches a point where, an inflection point where it's just too much of that stuff. and the society itself starts to cave in. And that's what we're seeing in Canada now. So I don't celebrate this, by the way. I've got lots of friends in Canada. I think it's a great country. But I can tell you now, I don't think their future is terrifically bright. Anything to say about Canada?
No, I've never been there, but I think it's like you say decadence, but I think people just when people start to make their own problems, that's the huge thing.
That's a first. We know when people say first world problems, like for example, in Canada now, they won't discuss things like immigration. You're just considered. You remember what Trudeau did when the truck protesters against
he froze
COVID?
their money.
He froze their money. I mean, these are the kind of things that authoritarian governments in the very worst parts of the world would do. So I'm concerned, and they had a chance here to vote in this guy called Pierre Poilievre, who seemed to me to be a fairly good starting point for a new kind of and slightly better functioning Canada. But let's see what happens. Also, just down the road in America, Michelle Obama had this to say at I think she was recording a podcast or something. And everybody is freaking out over this, big mic stuff. But here it is from her own mouth. So up to now, it's been Obama making mistakes in interviews, mentioning the Bear Grylls or one of those guys like, oh, my mic instead of my Michelle. But here she is talking about herself in the first person. Take a listen to this.
And that's, that warms my heart, particularly as a Black man. And that's, that warms my heart, particularly as a Black man.
You heard that. As a Black man.
Oh, Big Mike.
I don't know if you need more than that to work on.
But also, I mean, the age that Big Mike's at now, just let it out, be you.
It's a funny thing.
Do what you need to do.
I watched she's got a podcast now.
Of course. Yeah.
Everybody's got a podcast. Anyway, Big Mike's podcast is her and her brother and like some other, and they get guests in or whatever. But they talk about like stuff that you could tell. I think we played a clip from one just the other day. You can tell it's been set up by some PR firm. Like she's got people who work.
All the same people that have Meghan Markle's podcast and all that
exactly.
kind of shit.
It's like these are the sanitized subjects that you can discuss.
Yeah.
These will get you good clicks, and this is the kind of stuff that the internet is responding to at the moment. Let me tell you something. If you work for one of those companies that does trend research or anything else, some of them are very good, but some of them are just pointless, useless people. What they're doing is analyzing after the fact, trying to project things forward. If you try to be the trendiest person, if you try to make yourself popular, good luck to you. I hope you fail horrifically, because there's nothing more inauthentic than someone who's clout chasing. And that's clearly what they're doing with this show. Now, I don't believe that Michelle Obama is in a bad place. I think Michelle Obama has a pretty damn good life. How old are the Obamas now? They're in their 50s? Somewhere around there.
James said, oh, yeah, like he's always known that.
They've been well known, the Obamas, for at least the last 20 years. Really well known. All over. Maybe the most famous couple in the world for a while. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. I think it's fair to say that generally Barack Obama is still held in pretty high regard by most people in the world, as is Michelle. Well, on the podcast, which I haven't listened to, but someone sent me a clip of. I could not bear to listen to that for more than 10 minutes. But someone sent me a clip. Michelle Obama complaining about how people are looking at their phones and they're not noticing her, which just frightens the hell out of me, because surely attention seeking shouldn't be among your priorities when you're as famous and as rich and as well established as the Obamas are. I mean, how can Michelle be bothered by the fact that people are looking at their phones? Not that that isn't a problem.
Yeah.
But that the reason that she's cross is not because they're looking at their phones, which is bad enough, but that they're not paying enough attention to her. You know, she was complaining once about how I think we played this clip too. She went to a shopping center or something, because she's so normal. She's not driven around by blue light brigades and has her groceries flown in from, I don't know, some fancy place where they only grow wild salmon. Who knows? Anyway, she was saying she was in the shops and someone mistook her for a worker in the shop, and she was hugely offended because obviously she's better than a worker.
Of course.
I think it's weird that people who've got everything going for them still find things to moan about. First world problems.
But also, we've touched on this with the Meghan Markle as well, is that these people want podcasts so they can come across as being relatable.
Yeah.
People that can resonate with you.
Yes.
But they do that because they want that while still having the arm's distance, like, oh no, I'm still better than you. But a podcast, unfortunately, you can't hide in a podcast. Have you noticed that, like, Joe Rogan was the first guy to get really big guests on. But then he never really got major movie stars. And I was thinking about this the other day, like, why don't these guys go on to podcasts? And then I saw
they've got nothing to say.
this is exactly it. So then I listened to the Theo Von guy had Ben Affleck on.
Yeah.
I made, I think, 12 minutes. He had nothing to say.
Was it horrible?
It was so fucking boring. Like, beyond
he
boring.
has to be boring. He married J-Lo, and the two of them were together for a long time.
But
Can you imagine those conversations?
But he kind of
Ben, I am very tired today. What do you think the problem is?
Well, I don't know, Jen. I'll make you some coffee.
I don't want no coffee. I want tequila.
Jen, you're a 50-year-old woman. You got to start behaving yourself at some point.
Don't tell me what to do, Ringo. I fucking kill you. I have a knife in my bag.
I can't imagine those two having anything nearly as exciting as what I've just told you they were talking about. I think their conversations, all actors, go something like this. What's your latest project? Well, I'm pretending to be a ship's captain in the 1700s. Oh, that's exciting. What are you pretending to be? I'm pretending to be a superhero who can fly and punch monsters and then knock them out. Oh, that's exciting.
Who are you working with? Oh, I'm
Who are
working
you working with? Pity about Harvey Weinstein. That kind of that's their whole conversation.
Yeah, but look, it was in that 12 minutes I took quite a lot out of it because what Ben Affleck actually said, the only thing that actually stood out, other than it just felt like word farts, is that before, when there was no access to like people through social media, people held actors into a certain light.
Oh yeah.
Whereas now, because they expect all the access, they realize that actors are quite normal people.
They're quite boring people.
And then
should add
what
it.
that does is it doesn't get you excited about movies because you've now seen this guy at like at a Starbucks, whatever,
Right.
waiting in a queue. It's like, that's Iron Man or that's whatever.
Oh.
So for them, it must be really worrying because people want access and they want to relate with you.
Don't you think the price of fame has come down to all-time lows? We talk about
course,
the price
yeah.
of Bitcoin when we opened the show because it's a constant conversation in the comment section. I'm not ignoring you, comment section. It's just I have not much to say about that this morning. But the price of fame has got to be at an all-time low.
But how do you maintain that? And then there's the facade you keep up for your craft, so to speak, but yet you also kind of want to be a human. It's a really weird balancing act. But I think a lot of people, it's like sports people too. People always say to me, like, who's the most amazing sports person I've met? And I'm like, I don't really think of them like that.
Yeah.
Because they're good at sport. And I don't want to talk sport with sports people a lot of the time because I know what they've done. Like, what did it feel like to do this? To me, that's the stupidest question. If anyone asked that on the show, I don't watch the show. It must have been really amazing to win that thing. Yes, it was really amazing to win that. Fuck, of course.
But that's also why so many sports shows have struggled to make interesting content. I mean, I got to say again, what Ben and Sandila and the team do on the bounce is very, very fucking cool. It's for someone who doesn't watch sport, I find it's like what Top Gear did for cars. And I wasn't ever a car guy. I became a car guy later on because of that show. I took an interest in things. I would never have used the word torque or horsepower in my life until I started watching that show. And I only started watching it because it was entertaining.
It's
and
still
then
good.
eventually got interested in the cars along the way.
It's aged really well. I think it's still really great.
It's still good. And the same goes for what you guys are doing with On the Bounce. But I do want to go back to the working classes because there's also this funny thing that's happened in the world. And it's become a big deal over the last probably 5 to 10 years, where those people who are famous, Meghan Markle, Michelle Obama, these famous people who are trying to connect Ben Affleck with ordinary people to be relatable. The reality is like there is no relationship going on there. They like the working class people to admire them from a distance. You said an arm's length. They don't want to be in the working class people's proximity. They don't want to be going down to the pub and sharing a gallon of brown ale with Dick the plumber. They don't. They just don't. They don't like those people. Similarly, the working class people must be held in thrall. They must want to be these famous and well-known and powerful people. And most working class people these days have also seen through the crap. And they're like, no, I may just be a plumber, an electrician, teacher, policeman, construction worker, but I'm actually more important to society than you are. I think they've realized that. And they are more important. Given a broken toilet, you don't need a politician or a extremely well-paid lawyer or a complicated urban planner or public administration expert. What you need is a fucking plumber. At that moment, you would part with double the money that the lawyer would charge to have that toilet of yours fixed. And those guys know that they're more important to the world's economy than these, turbo nerds who are talking about AI the whole time.
Management consultants.
So I want to play this for you because the working class deserves some credit, but they also deserve some mockery. This is a great clip that I just absolutely love from Mr. Chumley Warner, courtesy of Harry Enfield. It's just brilliant. So here's the working classes in England as they would have been depicted in the 1920s, and in some ways they still are.
Good evening, Grayson. So what have you been doing since we last met?
Why, call blimey, Governor. I left the cheese and kisses and the God forbids and the rat and mouse. Took Flounder and Dab down the Frog and Toad. But I had a very pleasant pint of pig's ear and a large pimple and blotch.
You've been down to the East End again, haven't you, Grayson?
You've tumbled me.
What's it like?
Well, rather like this. Slum housing is the order of the day in the East End, and the people like it that way. Of course, you and I might think they'd be happier in nice houses like ours. But top scientists have proved that if you give a working man a nice house, he'll quickly let it fall into a state of filth and depravity. That's how he likes it.
Do-gooders, they'd have given us a perishing inside toilet now.
Inside toilet? I ain't never not heard of one of them, nor I ain't know nothing. A dozen no's, a dozen nikes. Mind if I pop outside and foul your pavement? Sure. Very much. Their sanitary habits may be disgusting, but the East Enders are famous for their vibrant street life and friendly community spirit.
Here, you dirty rotter, you caught me in the Queensberries.
And the drunken brawl said, hi. On Saturday nights, Sid and Harry's wives can be found at the local pub, drinking gin and singing poor quality songs. Or at the music hall viewing a vulgarette. But not everyone has tonight off. Indeed, for this lady of ill repute, it's her busiest night of the week.
Hello, Nelly. What's your charging tonight, then?
Sixpence halfpenny for acts of appalling depravity. 1 and 6 to faddle-daddle with me whatchamacallits. And 2 shillings to waddle up me whoops-a-daisy.
What do I get for tuppence?
Mum!
Yes. But something I've always wanted to know, Grayson. Do the working classes in the East End smell?
Yes, most frightfully.
Thank you. You've reassured me. I won't go there. Good night, Grayson.
Good night, Mr. Chumley Warner. Or should I say, ta-ra, Governor?
No.
All right, very good. So you got to remember, the working classes, everybody knows their place. It's very important.
Go foul the pavement outside your house.
Yeah, you mind if I go and foul the pavement outside your house? Very good. All right, so we were talking just now about gorillas, 100 men versus one gorilla. You know, it could be a new sport. You were suggesting Mr. Beast should do it.
So what I was going to suggest that we got sidetracked is, they brought back the dire wolves.
Yes.
Can we bring back one gorilla just for the video?
Oh, you mean...
So we don't take anything. We don't go to Rwanda and take a gorilla or like a...
Oh, you mean
just
genetically engineer one?
Yes.
You see, then people will have an issue because they'll say it's not a natural-born gorilla. Will it have certain genetic advantages if we engineer it back to life? I think go a little further. Let's make a T-Rex. Let's not fuck around. We've got places like Madagascar. I mean, sure, there are people who live there, but it's a terrible place. We should just put a T-Rex there and see what happens.
Yeah, it's true. There's so many islands that we can probably do that with.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, even take an uninhabited one. There's got to be an uninhabited island. The T-Rex doesn't have to last
plenty.
forever. Find such an island. T-Rex might not last, but it'll be fucking fun to watch for while it does. Right? Or a pterodactyl. I mean, the number of times I wake up in a fevered, terrified, can't breathe properly. It's happened 3 or 4 times where I've thought about, oh my God, a pterodactyl. I mean, that's got to be the most horrific,
I think
frightening.
Anything that's scary that can fly.
Jesus.
Yeah, that must have been the scariest thing.
By far.
Yeah.
You're just relaxing, making a fire. Takes you a long time in those days. You weren't sure how it happened, right? It wasn't like okay, if I click these rocks together and make a spark, I'm going to get a fire. It was complex engineering for our ancestors. And you got your shaggy long hair and a bone through your nose or whatever. And you're wearing like Fred Flintstone type clothes. And your wife is in the cave and she's nurturing the newborn on her tit. And then suddenly you hear this, rah! And you think, take cover. But while you're about to take cover, you just see this enormous shadow come over you.
Well, you'd feel the wind of the wings.
You'd feel the wind of the wings, just this enormous like cyclone, and it probably knocks you off your feet, and then you're lying there, and you hope it's going for some piece of livestock further along, but alas, the giant claws grab you, or the beak just picks you up, and the beak is like it's like being swallowed into a bus, just the beak part. And then next thing you're down the gullet. Oh my God. Justin Gareth says, Madagascar is shit and should be filled up with T-Rexes. Yes, that would be IOL's headline tomorrow, if anybody bothered to pay attention to IOL. I do want to, before we go into more of the dinosaurs and gorillas and such things, I want to show you a new Australian sport they've developed, because we'll get to sport after this. Australia's always, I think they're trying to reestablish their masculinity, because Australia's become a very safe nanny state.
Yeah.
Very feminized
Sunny
society.
Canada.
Right. So it is a bit like Canada. And here's a new sport which I think may be the beginning of Australia getting its balls back. You know, the old days of Crocodile Dundee, Kevin Bloody Wilson, miners calling every girl a Sheila. We've got to bring those days back. Australia needs some self-respect. Here's a new sport. This could be the key.
You gotta see this to believe it. Come with me as I check out Australia's new most viral extreme sport called Run It at Melbourne Pavilion. 2, 1, run it! This is probably one of the most fucked up things I've ever seen, but in a good way. Quite literally, a car crash on legs. This new viral combat sport is basically 2 giants going head to head and running it straight. The objective is to win the collision on the best of 4. But if you knock out your opponent in those 4 rounds, well, guess what? You win. There's a defender and an offender, and they take it in turns. And each round is judged on a 10-8 scorecard. You lose points if you get knocked over or you don't run directly up that fucking yellow line. These big boys go head to head round after round until someone gets their hand. Probably thinking there's a lot of similarities to boxing, and there is. Even down to my favourite parts, which is the entrance. They get a walk-in song, the whole fucking lot. The boys competing chuck lip in the press conference, and they also chuck lip in between the rounds. You're probably thinking, why the fuck would anyone do this? Well, there was a $20,000 prize pool for the person who won. So that's why. If you think you've got what it takes, well, good luck to you, because I would never fucking do this.
I can tell you where that came from. That's, okay,
yeah.
Well, we played that in high school a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure some small kids got concussed. But, that's how you grow.
Smaller children, that's what happens.
That has completely come from the Polynesian guys in rugby teams.
Oh.
Absolutely. The big oaks from, like, the Maori countries, like Samoa,
right,
Tonga, Fiji.
Just rush at each other until someone's head
they're
explodes.
Big, and that's just what they do. and they're strong and they're crazy. That's basically like rugby's version of slap fight.
Okay. But I do like it. I mean,
it's-
it could be the beginning of something.
There are worse sports that pop up.
Okay.
So, but that is basically, people talk about head traumas and things like that in
Yeah.
rugby. That sport basically is the exact opposite of that, which cool.
I'm a fan. T-Rex versus King Kong. Let's go. Let's start
Yeah,
making
but-
that. Turn Madagascar into Jurassic Park for tourists. The East End now includes the whole of London except for Chelsea and Kensington. Basically, it's just people ramming each other, says Carl. Yeah, I think it is, but it's not. It's not the worst sport I've seen. I've seen a lot of stupid sport. I mean, I still don't know who in the whole world plays lacrosse. I
Rich
will
people,
never understand
rich
that
kids in America.
stupid thing. Let's get to some actual sport. Ben has a busy weekend ahead, and he's going to tell you about it. Save our time.
Well, we got to catch up on the football because
Yes.
it's like the cup season.
So you said you were worried about this season when we were starting the show, and you and James had a conversation about that. What are you worried about?
It's absolutely not how I'm looking to start this.
But go on.
Man, yeah, look, we get to the stage now where your season is defined by what you've won.
Yeah.
So Newcastle, working class people, soiling each other's pavements outside the house, they've won the Carabao Cup. They've got something, right?
What's that cup again?
That's like the League Cup. So all the teams in the Premier League, they play for the Carabao Cup.
Okay.
It's a very lesser tournament, but it's a trophy.
Right.
Then there's the FA Cup, which Man City are going to be taking on Crystal Palace. That'll be 17th of May. Yeah, that's just they'll win that. So they've had a shit season, but they'll win the FA Cup. Then you get Liverpool, absolutely stroll to an easy kind of English Premier League win with Arne Slot as the new coach, manager person.
That's not a great name.
Yeah, but he's bald and Dutch. I mean, what
Arne
else?
Slot.
What else do you want from him?
Arne Slot.
So those three teams are going to have, something to show for their season. Chelsea are in this participation league thing, the Conference Cup, I think it's called.
Sounds bad.
But they've got a good chance because they're playing against mostly like kick-around teams. And then Man United and Spurs are both doing well in the Europa Cup, as in they'll probably get to the final.
Okay.
So one of those useless fucking teams is going to win a big trophy, which then just leaves Arsenal having to win the Champions League, the hardest to win out of all of those things, for their trophy of the year.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say I'm worried. I'm just saying that it's a daunting road ahead.
All right.
But speaking of Champions League this week, Arsenal weren't their best. They went 1-0 down to Paris Saint-Germain at home, which wasn't ideal. Barcelona drew with Inter Milan 3-3. So we're going to the second leg of the semi-final of the Champions League. The deficits, as you can tell, are very tight. It's exciting. Like, it's a really exciting kind of finish to where this is going. The Europa League, like I mentioned, that Man United and Spurs are still in. Man United won 3-0 yesterday against Athletic Club. And then Spurs beat these Norwegian fishermen 3-1.
What Norwegian fishermen?
Bodo Glimt.
That's really a team?
They're fourth in the
Bodo Glimt.
They're fourth in the Norwegian league.
Huh.
So Spurs played them. They won 3-1. Like when Bodo Glimt come together, the capacity for their stadium is 9,200 people.
It's like a high school.
Basically, they strapped it onto the fish yard. Yeah. Yeah, so that's happening.
Bet you they're fucking hot supporters, though.
Oh, I bet they do. Especially these months when they get out of like the igloos and
There's
get a bit of sunshine on them.
Ingrids and they'll pitch up there and go, Bodo Glimt or
Bodo
whatever.
Glimt, they'll be watching. Yeah, because that's
they'll
when.
be into it.
So the second leg of that's going to be in Bodo Glimt.
Shit. That's where you go to find a wife. That's where I'm going to go to find a wife. I'll go to a Bodo Glimt match.
Yeah, now's a good time because they're riding high.
Thing about those Scandinavian women, you can't tell if they're 25 or 49.
I have that problem already with people.
You can't tell age? We'll get back to
struggle
this later. Carry on with this.
So, and then there's a CAF Champions League. So, unfortunately, Pirates fell out of that. But Sundowns will be taking on the Pyramids because they beat Al Ahly. So, that'll be 24th of May. There's 2 legs in that final for some bizarre reason. So, that's where we sit currently in the Cups. English Premier League, though, so we all know Liverpool's won that. So we all know who the relegated teams are. But the whole thing for the top 4 is the big talking point here. So,
oh, look at that.
So if you look at the points currently, Newcastle, as I said, they're doing really well. 62 points, they look pretty good. There's 4 rounds to go. Man City 61, and then Chelsea, Nottingham Forest on 60, Aston Villa 57. So those are the teams that are in the running for this Champions League spot. You got to finish top 4, I think it is. They say that there's an extra English team coming into it, but you're always gunning for the top 4. So you would think, Nottingham Forest, unfortunately, they've just really fallen away. They lost to Brentford last night, so they're not going to make it. Momentum's not on their side. Maths is, but still, between Chelsea, Man City, Newcastle, you think, it's between them. It really is. If Chelsea can get through there, it'd be a huge thing. So tonight, Man City will take on the Wolves at 9. Saturday, we've got Aston Villa versus Fulham at 1:30, Arsenal versus the Bournemouth at 6:30, and then Sunday's big game, Chelsea versus Liverpool. So I know Liverpool's won the league. Their season's kind of over, but they're going to keep going because they're a champion team. Chelsea with all to play for, so that's the big game, Sunday at 5:30. And then Monday, Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest, who are just on the way down. And then in the PSL, Sundowns this week, I think, kind of won it. They won their match. Pirates lost to Sekakune. So Pirates, they're 12 points behind now. They've got 2 games in hand, but even if they win those 2 games, they're still then at 6 points behind. I think Sundowns have won the PSL from here. They'll take on Cape Town City for more points on Saturday at 8. And then the big Soweto derby, Chiefs versus Pirates, will be at 3 o'clock this Saturday. So we're in the very rare situation of having back-to-back Soweto derbies this week just for the PSL, which is really huge because Chiefs are currently in 9th. They need to make it in the top 8 to be in the MTN 8, which is how they start the next season. And they went in it last year. So they have to win this. And then next week is the Nedbank Cup final, which is our FA Cup. And that'll be at Moses Mabhida Stadium. So if you like the Soweto derby, well, you've just got 2 weeks of it coming up. If you think there's too much of it, give this one a skip. And then other big news, obviously, Accrington Stanley is safe. They beat Walsall last week.
That's what I was waiting for, actually.
They were always flirting in the relegation line in League 2, but they beat Walsall last week. Huge results. So no matter what happens for the rest of the season, there's only a couple of games left, they are safe. Big rugby this weekend. Not so much for the SA teams because they were shite in the cup competitions, but the EPCR Challenge Cup semis, that will take place this weekend. Edinburgh versus Bath, Saturday at 6:30. Sunday, Lyon versus Racing 92 at 1:30. And then the Investec Champions Cup. So those are the really big teams. Saturday will be Leinster versus Northampton at 6:30. And then the Bordeaux Berglaers will take on Toulouse at 4. So last year's final was Leinster-Toulouse. Good chance of that coming through again this year. But I really think the Bordeaux Berglaers are going to be the ones to go and win that one. They're playing at home. They're bloody good. And I think that'll be them and Leinster final. Not the biggest sporting weekend. That's pretty much it.
It's a game.
Lots of football. There's always golf being played around the world. There's always people punching each other around the world. And I'm sure there's always cricket. The IPL's still going.
I think people punching each other around the world is a very good way to look at the world.
IPL's going. A 14-year-old kid strode to the crease in the IPL, and he scored 135 balls. 14.
Is he a prodigy of some kind?
He's fucking 14, Gareth. You can call it what you want.
No, but I mean...
Call him the Zeus.
This could be the next big thing. And if he is, he's got a long career ahead of him.
14 years old, and you scored the second... You not just like scored 100, the second fastest 100.
That's incredible. Where is he from?
He's Indian.
Oh. Well, I foresee a lot of money being thrown his way.
14.
That's pretty impressive. That's good. Those parents got a great return on investment.
It's just like...
Right? Whatever they've been feeding him, the school fees, the cricket training if he's had any, the bat, the pads, they are looking at themselves now going, you know what? That was a very, very good investment. This child's going to make us world famous and rich.
I just always think, how do you maintain that? Okay, so... I think it's like when you start banging chicks like super early. Your youth's a bit fucked, let's be honest.
Yeah, probably.
This folks now scored 100 in the biggest cricket thing.
If you're 12 years old,
How does he go to school now? What does he do?
He's not going to learn maths. But he doesn't need to. He just needs to watch the scoreboard. You know what, Ben? You don't have... Not everyone's going to be a balanced person. There are going to have to be people we have to send in to fight the gorilla.
I get that. I don't think balance is actually healthy.
Got to be working classes. There got to be Michelle Obamas.
The point I bring up is that how does he maintain this so that he does have a career when you're so young and you've just done this?
I would say, without being sarcastic or ridiculous, because I normally would be on something like this, that this guy's biggest challenge is going to be psychological and mental, not
Completely.
physical, financial, or any of those things.
Absolutely.
His big issue is going to be the same as a child star or a Tiger Woods or any of those kind of peoples. They're going to have good mentoring, coaching, psychological assessment, therapy, all the way through this, because suddenly what's going to happen? What do you know the kid's name? Doesn't matter yet.
It's a long name, Gareth. I'm not going to use it now.
Okay.
I don't. I just know that he was 14.
All right. I mean, that's amazing. I'm very, very impressed by stuff like that. I always love the idea of the idiot savant. And people always think it's an insult because the word idiot comes in front. But often you find someone who's really quite ordinary in most respects, but then they have this one thing that they are just supremely gifted in. You know, it could be someone who plays the piano
Yeah.
just effortlessly at age 7. Blow everyone away. Everyone sits there going, oh my God, she's playing Rachmaninoff at the piano. Some little girl from Japan or whatever. You get a kid like this, a 14-year-old who could score one of the fastest hundreds in history. It's just, that drives me wild with excitement. I love the idea of these brilliant, brilliant people.
Yeah.
Go on.
So I can tell you his name. It is Vaibhav Suryavanshi.
Great.
And in his very next game, he got fuck all.
Ah, well.
2 balls, duck.
Yeah.
Life giveth, life taketh.
Uh-huh. That's why you're going to need
But this is the
therapy.
thing. So he's going to be young. He has to go through this kind of stuff. But at 14, to have already done that, and everyone's going to be talking about him as that guy, to maintain that is just going to be, that's going to be the real feat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm positive for him.
Pressure.
I think it's great. But sheepers, to do that at 14 is just crazy.
It's fantastic. All right, so good sports stuff that we've got to look forward to, even though you said it's quite a quiet weekend. You mentioned something else which I do want to pick up on before we finish this hour. It's like you don't know what age people are.
No, I brought it up.
What do you mean?
I brought it up because last week when I was talking about the gym
Yeah, the old man.
and like talking to girls at gym,
Yeah.
you struggle with that because like when you're in a bar, you kind of know people are obviously older than 18.
Well,
probably
you hope.
like 21.
You hope. I mean, the proprietor could be a fucking asshole who lets in anyone.
See, that was like
You
the
never
last.
know.
Yeah.
So you don't even have a baseline to work off of.
Well, when you look at someone by themselves, it's difficult. When you see them in a group, you can kind of gauge their friend
Yeah.
group, and then you have like a bit of a balance,
That is if they have friends their own age.
which is common. People's friends normally are
Mostly,
their peers.
but there are occasionally you will find there is someone quite young who hangs around with people much older, and sometimes you will find someone who's quite old who hangs around with people much younger.
the exception, yeah.
Yeah, but that does happen.
But it helps in the process of gauging how old someone is.
All right, so what do you look for? What are the telltale signs in order to establish someone's age? Because when someone asks me that, I get nervous. I'm like, I don't know. They go, how old do you think I am? It's usually someone in their late 40s, and they want you to say, well, you're 32.
Yeah.
And then they go, you're off by a decade.
It's the worst. It's the worst question in the world
hate
because
it.
you're only going to get it wrong, and I hate lying. And I know it's polite to go, "Oh, I think you are this minus 7, 25," because it's like, come on.
Calculated.
It's bullshit. And then I think you're 33, and then they go, "Ouch!" It's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, I'm 32. Like, okay, well, good for you.
Well, that's not so bad. I'm almost on the nose.
I hope you've had a wonderful time in those 32 years.
Yeah.
And play some games with me.
But don't get cross.
Ouch.
Don't get cross if it's like a year off. That's pretty good guessing.
No, if people ask me that, I just go, you know what? I'm probably going to be offensive right now, but it's a dumb question. Naturally, I've got all the charm in the world, as you can see.
What you should do, really, and it'll stop, because eventually word will spread that you're not the person to ask. You should go, well, judging by the liver spots on your hands, I'd say you're probably in your 50s. The wrinkles around your eyes make you at least 42. But perhaps on a good day and with your tit job, you could get away with being 37. So I would say your starting point's 37 and your end point's 52. And you're somewhere in the middle there. Do you want me to get more specific? If you do, I'll need to take a closer look. That'll stop all the shit straight away.
Under the bonnet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Under the bonnet.
As you get older, I find these things become more enjoyable. And at this stage, if you don't find it funny, then I'm not the person for you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's unfortunately just how it's going to go.
Yeah, really.
If people ask stupid questions, they go and get stupid answers. I can't do polite stuff. It's so bad.
Well, we'll worry about all of that and more in the next hour. We've got an action-packed hour between 7 and 8 this morning. Don't go anywhere. The Real Network, Gareth Cliff Show, and I see lots of crazy shit going on in the comments. We'll get to all of that next too. Don't go anywhere.
The franchising industry in general, 15% of South Africa's GDP. And through this, over 500,000 jobs are being created. Whichever franchise you're talking about, those are indirectly through franchising. And franchising is the best scalable solution for us to make a difference with
because it's
society.
all when you say franchising, the word is rattling in my head.
Yes.
And I'm thinking of Tammy Taylor.
Oh,
and how
Taylor.
franchises can also be a scam.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
South Africans love sports, and they also love jewels. So this episode, we're going to find out exactly what SA's best sports jewels are. For such a task, this week's guest is entrepreneur, DJ, and career sports jeweler Welcome Plessy. He has had more jewels than Ben has had protein shakes and is eager to unpack his best in SA, along with discussing a local sport and cultural festival that he is looking to take to the next level here in the sports realm. Rumour has it, the guys also mostly wanted to do this episode, as it forces them not to talk about Liverpool's Premier League win at all. But enough about that. It's episode 46. Let's get into it.
All right, good morning, everybody. It's Friday. It's also wedged between a public holiday Thursday and the weekend, and it's the beginning of the month of May. Now you know where you belong. Context is everything. And for the purposes of this weekend, Ben has given us some nice tips on what sport is on. I think because we've all had so many public holidays, it's back to work from next week.
I'm so excited to have a full 5 days.
I know.
Yeah,
and schedules return to normal, and everybody's doing normal office hours.
No excuses from people about where they are, what they're not doing.
I mean, I got to tell you, and this is frustrating as fuck. I've had so many email replies in the last month. What's going on? What's that noise? Sounds like there are pigs rummaging in the trough outside. No, go and check that someone hasn't fallen and can't get up. I've received so many automated replies from people saying, so sorry, only back on the 5th of May. What the hell's this? You have to be kidding me that for a whole month, basically South Africa's taken the month off. I do know someone who actually decided at the beginning of this year, looked at the calendar and went, I'm not going to work in April. Very important, powerful person, runs the whole division, but basically had this leave owing. If he didn't cash in the leave, he wasn't going to get the leave ever again. You can't transfer it into money. So he decided, I'll just take off April. And he's basically been playing golf, spending time with his family. Of course, he can't help himself, so he's checking in at the office all the time, much like many of us would. But that is not a bad plan. And I'll tell you, I'm going to look at next year's schedule and make a similar decision.
Well, April provides it every single year. So just see how
100%.
you're going in December and go, right, I can... Because some people work through December sometimes.
Yeah, rather do that.
Yeah, just play it smart. Like, it's inevitable, this thing. It's not like every year you go, oh, why? There's so many public holidays.
Well,
why is this happening?
I mean, I saw the funniest...
We know it's coming.
I saw the funniest clip, which I know you'll love because it's something that you've often brought up. But Nina Hastie's weather thing, she's standing in front of a whiteboard and she goes, people of South Africa, winter's coming. May is the start of winter. And she goes, and it's going to be cold. Okay? And then it carries on being cold. And then June, also cold. She writes cold as well. In fact, it's going to be cold for April, May, June, July, August, and September. So don't say it's cold. It's kind of obvious. I love it.
Yeah.
I love Nina.
I'm
She's
great
awesome.
that she... I'm so happy that she's funny again.
Yeah, she's definitely back, and she's definitely funny. You know what else is funny? Is these two guys, they sing songs. Normally, I would not find that funny. But in this song in particular, because we're now all going back to work on Monday, right? We're all getting back to normal on Monday. No more of this bullshit automated replies. I'm not at the office. It's public holiday. Give me another week. None of that crap. We need to get back to work. These guys are all about the work, and they reckon even the kids should get in on it. Take a look.
More jobs, less automation. Yeah! Prioritize education. Yeah! More income in this nation. Yeah! We got the answer with a tiny bit of legislation. Kids, back down the mines. Yeah! Kids, back down the mines. Yeah! Kids, back down the mines. Kids, back down the mines. I can tell you're not all sold on that one, so we'll try another angle, okay? Equal opportunities. Yeah! Include the minorities. Yeah! Help to all the refugees. Yeah! We got the answer if you give us some authority. Immigrants down in the mines. Yeah! Immigrants down in the mines. Yeah! Immigrants down in the mines. Immigrants down in the mines. It's a tough crowd.
Stop talking about mine.
You give it a go then.
Help folks to reach some success. Recognize the skills they possess. It's time for us to progress.
Installing ramps for easy access. Come on everyone, you all know the word. Disabled people down in the mines. Yeah! Disabled people down in the mines. Disabled people down in the mines. Disabled people down in the mines.
Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely.
Send them all down in the mines.
Ultimately, everyone wants to be a Zama Zama. That's what we're always going with.
Let's go, motherfuckers. Let's get down in the mines.
That's where
and
it's
make
meant
it
to
work.
happen.
James, is that your favorite song? Okay.
Good, because that other stuff's terrible that you like.
Yeah, the stuff you like up to now has been horrific. Okay, so
James, down in the mines.
Down in the mines.
Just works.
That's our solution. I'm telling you, a lot would start to go right if we just sent everybody down in the mines, starting with the kids. Think about it. It's a whole population of people who are not economically active. They're a drain on the economy until they're at least 18. And I'm not saying they need to be 4 and down the mines, but from 12.
Well, I think 7.
7 at a push.
If you
just
can...
think about that huge amount of untapped workforce that's available to us. Get into the crevicey small places.
It's the small places that
pull out the gold or the gemstones or
the small places
platinum
that you can't
or
get
whatever.
to.
I mean, they'd come out of there every day. They'd be a whole lot more grateful. I'll tell you what. They wouldn't go, oh, I had a horrible day at school. Jimmy was mean to me. No. They'd be like, fucking hard day at the mines, Mum. Make me a cup of tea.
Exactly.
You know, that kind of thing. They wouldn't complain. Yeah, wouldn't moan about my lunchbox is blue, but I want a green one.
My iPad
screen is chipped. Get fucked. They'd be like, iPad? Who has time for iPad? I have time for sleep. Got to be up at mine first thing in morning.
It's just a sense of camaraderie as well. You know, you're part of a team.
Yeah, exactly. because you'll often see people falling down the shaft. And at 7, that really wakes you up to the realities of life. So good ideas all round. And now we can stop with these goddamned holidays. It is still a very complicated place, this world, to find love and to settle down. And people are on these apps the whole time. And there are various theories about how you should use these apps. I am not the person to ask. I have no fucking idea. I'm completely without direction.
And may that always be, Gareth.
Yeah, you know what, Ben? I can't go on those things. I think it's just a bridge too far for me.
So I met a dude a couple of weeks ago, and this isn't really incriminating because I'm not going to mention his name.
Okay.
And people don't even know where I go out. So if you saw me talking to somebody, well, I don't know. This guy, he is my age, and he's got like a proper plan. He's a very smart dude, okay? He's got like a bunch of businesses. He just looks like one of those guys who always has a plan and he knows how to operate. Okay. Life's not like a mystery to him. So he worked out that he can basically, firstly, lie about his age.
Okay.
So don't say you are, like
28 when you're 43. It's not gonna happen.
No, I mean, like, don't say your real age. Once you're in your 40s, you're not really in the mix. Right. So you lie and you say like 37, 38. Okay?
Right.
Big psychological gap there. And then he got someone to professionally take photographs of him, which he then tuned up a little bit with AI.
Huh.
He then outsources the initial conversation things to a place in Romania. There's a team of these fuckers. There's like a sweatshop at Oaks in Bucharest who will do all the chatting for you for a small fee.
Very clever.
His theory is, all I need to do is just get into a real life situation with a girl and my own charisma, charm, and wit, all this kind of stuff. I'll seal the deal from there.
So it's really just the hook.
Which is the hardest part of dating apps, right?
Okay.
He reckons that, like, everyone lies a little bit in their CV. And it's like the same with the girls. The pictures, you can't trust that. But he's like, look, if I'm there, I can tell within a minute or so if I want to have sex with this girl or she's decent or whatever. And then it's game on. But why must I waste time getting there?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And the thing is, like, you got to say the same kind of shit anyway just to get them there. So this chat farm in Romania will do all of that, set you up for a certain time, and all you need to do is then provide geographical location, obviously current to where you are.
Right.
Because a guy in Romania is not going to go to this place in Parkinson.
Oh, yeah, it's just down the road.
So he's basically, he's automated this entire system, which is completely not real. But then I thought, as he was telling me this, I was thinking like, okay, well, I could never do that because it's lying. And I just thought, but he's actually just playing the game.
Yeah.
So who's the loser here?
It is
not
lying.
him.
The whole dating thing, there's a 50% chance it's all going to be lies, 50% chance it's all going to be true. That's all. So either you use the Romanian chat farm to hook the appointment, and then it's up to you from there on.
So yeah,
I don't see how that's
tweaked photos,
dishonest.
Professional thing. And because these Romanian chat guys are working in this thing, they're on the latest trends of what works, what people get.
Right.
They've got all these hooks worked out. And there's so many of them chatting with these girls. They then have feedback sessions about what girls react to.
And you know what? It really comes down to, and the numbers are all about how many times you swing the bat. It's not about how many times you hit the ball. If you strike out 9 out of 10 times, but you're doing that every week, you're always going to have more sex and more relationships and more fun than the guy who's only trying once every month. It's just never going to happen for him.
That's what this guy, again, I wouldn't say like I admire what he's doing because it's just what he's doing, but I admire the process. I admire how he's automated because his plan is, his modus operandi is, I want to sleep with girls, okay?
Yeah.
That's his game.
Right.
And that's not to be questioned right here. That's his game. How does he do it?
Yeah.
And he's managed to find a way.
Well, let's see what the very judgmental comment section has to say. Okay, yeah, tell me what's happening. Yes, everyone is sending various down the mines ideas. Okay. So TV license payers, thanks very much. Down in the mine. That's obviously meant for me. Gareth and Ben down in the mines. Why are you
this
taking
is all mines,
James
actually.
and Flex down in the mine.
Yeah, fair.
people are all into this. Politicians down the mines, although you spelt it so badly, Durban Dope, it's very hard to tell whether you shouldn't go down the mines. Immigrants back down in the mines, says Congo Chris. These public holidays are a joke, says Carl dos Santos. It's too many, even for him. He says, the economy cannot afford this many holidays. Easter Monday's a piss take. Workers' Day is antithetical to itself. Friday should be at work.
Friday's not Friday. It's called Heritage Day.
Don't give James any ideas, Gareth. He already tried to skip today. No, he didn't. He just had his phone off, guys. He's here. Some of my employees actually asked to be paid early because of all the public holidays, says Dirk. Well, I hope you didn't. Otherwise, you're making it very bad for the rest of us. Gwede Mantashe down in the mines.
It works for everything.
Tenderpreneurs down in the mines. Big Mike down in the mines. Auntie Ruda down in the mines. Feminists down in the mines. Lots of people here. Nyaope boys already in the mines. Okay. Gents, last Thursday I had the snip, says Carl. Men don't talk about this stuff a lot, hey? It wasn't a bad procedure, but the old nuts are still sore. So you had a, what do they call it? Vasectomy. And I mean, surely by now they've found a way to make that less painful.
You would think. I think there's some sort of like the Doctors Guild or whatever come together and go, nope, we're always going to make this painful.
Keep it sore. But keep them humble.
But we found a way. No, shut up. It must be a shot.
Probably. I'm sorry, Carl. Thank you for sharing it with us. Is this because you've decided that it's time to close the factory, obviously?
Well, it's
you
also,
don't want any surprise.
It's also Carl's way of saying he still gets some.
Yeah. So clearly. Yeah.
All's penis
he wouldn't
down
worry.
in the mines.
Yeah. He wouldn't be worried about all that if he was sitting at home. Fair enough. How do you meet people these days without dating apps, says Surviving Life?
Just go outside and talk to people.
Walking up to strangers to hit on them seems creepy, says the same guy.
Well, only if your zip's down and your tongue hangs out.
If you're drooling, it's usually kind of creepy.
I kind of thought about that as well. I was having a conversation with someone here at the office about that. This whole thing about, but that's creepy. Fuck that. If you're not a creepy person, you should not worry about being creepy. No. Simple as that. If you are a creepy person, well, you can't be helped. But if you don't have those traits, don't worry about it. Be you.
Where do you get to meet people? Apps are not bad, I'm not going to lie, says Judas, but the world has changed a lot. Bad people meet good people on apps and then ruin them. You think that's true?
Of course. Bad people ruin everything all over the place.
Where would you start? Tinder is horrific, right? Then there's that Bumble one. Then there are all these, there are 100 different
I can tell you where to start.
apps.
Fuck the apps. You've got to start with your friends. Have friends because friends have friends who have friends. It's the only way. We have to go back to that.
You to meet people who
all
you
these
actually
apps
know.
down in the mines. You must just basically
Down in the mines.
Down in the mines. You have to, because if you don't have friends, then you're not going to be someone who is going to be worth hanging out anyway. And the thing is, like, when you have friends, you meet someone through a recommendation. I mean, it doesn't work for me because all my friends are old. And I'm not meeting someone's cousin who hasn't had a good run until
All
this
your
point.
friends are old.
And you meet my cousin? No.
Do you hate being set up on things? Because I really hate that. I know it sometimes comes with the best intentions. It hasn't happened for a long time, but it used to. I kind of read the riot act to this girl. She's a friend of mine, and she tried to set me up on a date. And I said to her, I don't like the artificiality of it. You know,
But why would you say it's artificial?
Well,
just,
because
to my point is that friends connecting with
No.
friends.
If it just happens, like put us in the same place together with other people, and see if there's an attraction and an interest.
She didn't do that. She just dropped off at your house.
No, she said to me, "You have to go on a date with this girl."
No, that's silly.
Then I felt obliged, so I did. And it was very awkward. She wasn't nearly as attractive as promised.
Never are. Yeah.
No. She looked 10% of what I'd been promised.
Oof.
10 out of 100. That's not a good
She
number.
recently in an accident or something. Did you catch her during pollen season or what? 10% is very little, Gareth. Even with your bad
Look,
maths, you can
there's a
appreciate
long
that.
time ago, right? It's a long time ago. But honest to God, it was one of the most disappointing things. And she's very sweet, but, so
Well, fuck, you'd hope she has got something going for her.
Yeah. She's a very... And she's like, no, you got to meet her. She's perfect for you. And I thought, does this friend really know what... Does she know anything about me after setting me up with this girl? Because there's nothing perfect. What does she think? My value must be very low in her book. Because she's like, this is the perfect person for you. And again, very sweet human being. I can't say I've ever seen her again since that date. I don't know that I ever would. 10% of what I was promised. And that's not a good deal. If you went down in the mines and you only brought out 10% of what you thought you would, you'd have a pretty bad day.
Pretty bad day. And are you still friends with this person?
That's also, it's been a, what would you call it? A casualty of war. She's kind of, I took it sort of personally that she thought that this was the right girl for me.
Because if then she, as you said, she has no understanding of you.
Yeah, and by the way, that was the last time I went on a blind date, or at least a date where I had very scant information. I'm kind of out of that now. I just won't. If I don't meet you in a real organic situation, if I don't meet you at some event, party, through friends, there's an actual reason for us to be in the same place, I'm probably never going to meet you. And I do get occasionally these messages from, strangers on Instagram, and they're like, well, I'm going to be in Joburg for a couple of days. It would be really nice to meet you. And either they listen to the show or whatever else. It's never going to happen. Carl DeSantos says, 10, Gareth. Who is this troll? Put her down in the mine.
But I mean, the fact that she fell off 90 is so huge.
No, it was, when someone says to you, I have a friend, and you go, well, is she hot? That's always my question. Is she attractive? Is my question. Because I will forego a lot of other potential problems, and I can be very difficult or I can be moderately difficult. I will become very, very undifficult if she looks spectacular. Because I'll be I've realized, I'm massively, massively interested in beautiful things. So if it's a beautiful fucking piece of furniture or a building or a tree or a sculpture or a flower garden or a map, it could be anything. As long as it's beautiful, I will give it disproportionately large amounts of my time. If I meet a girl and again, I can never really tell if she's in her 30s, late 20s, early 40s. For me, it's all a mystery. So as long as I'm in that zone, roughly, and she's attractive, I'll put in major effort on that first occasion. Really, major effort. And 10%, Ben, is what I was given. Horribly is all I was given. And I didn't know what to do with it. Garrett's blind date setting up friend down in the mine.
Yes, correct.
Met my wife from a dating app, says Locust ZA. But yeah, Tinder and Bumble's garbage. Vincent says, just go to the damn pub and drink those women beautiful. Well,
see, there's also that, and that's a time-honored tradition. It's a process. I just can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I think you have to put in effort if you want to get something out.
Yeah.
I met my wife down in the mine, says Super Mega Lulz. If I'm wrong, please correct me, but if you have a huge following on social networks, can't you just DM anyone and date them? Surely they respond, or is that weird too? Okay, so I've attempted that as well. With mixed results, I have to say. You see, people lie on social media. They portray themselves as being this when they're actually that. So you think, oh, well, she looks nice. Meanwhile, she's just pretending she's got this amazing single life. She's actually married, and she doesn't put her husband on her Instagram.
Yeah.
Not good.
Girls do that.
That's a bad lie to start with.
Yeah.
Or the wedding photo thing, which we've discussed a number of times. Actually, someone who I hadn't seen in a long time brought it up over the course of last weekend. They're like, haha, that wedding thing, you're absolutely right. The often the girls who put up their wedding picture, sometimes 20 plus years after the wedding. That's bad. That's basically fraud. That is marketing.
Well, you don't have to get me started on profile pictures.
Yeah, I know.
Not
You
being
criticize when I have one that's more than a year or two old.
It's got to be current, guys.
Got to keep it current, right? Get you a sleigh weekend, Gareth says Pumlani. No, don't panic. Durban Dope says, met my girlfriend when she ordered a takeaway ice bine. She likes it with the bone in. Oh, it must be such a pleasure to be married to you. Gareth needs a Russian import. Hey, listen, we've talked about that too. Gareth, are you saying you're so superficial you wouldn't give Batabi Lamini a chance because of how she looks and you just ignore her superior intelligence? Shame on you, Gareth. Well, Carl, obviously the vasectomy you just had is affecting your thinking this morning. Marco says 100% correct, Gareth. Look, it's not. If this girl had been 90%, if she'd been 60%, I'd have given it a chance. Below 60.
Well, there is always that drop-off, right? From Instagram to real life, I think you're looking at 30%.
Jesus.
It's like VAT, basically.
It's a big drop, hey?
It's like girl VAT.
That's a big girl VAT.
Like, I'm sure it's the same for guys, too. Girls go on dates and they go, oh, this guy is not what I thought. It turns out his hair isn't that great.
Yeah.
He's not as tall as I thought.
He's got the one short leg and the other long leg.
Exactly. And he's
hunchback.
got a funny it goes both ways.
Cleft palate.
I get this. I would love to go to the parallel universe where there's a
Upspoke
female version
chin.
of this show.
There's a big problem going on. He's got a limp. Yeah. He didn't tell me about the limp.
Little
hip dysplasia. There must be, for girls, it must be much, much worse because I think a guy would lie more desperately if he's desperate to get with a girl than a girl would lie desperately.
I've just told you about the I've uncovered the lies that do happen from a guy's perspective, but I also think girls critique things so differently to us.
Yeah.
So it'll be like certain mannerisms and traits and these kind of things that we would never think of.
Like?
Whereas with us, it's so superficial because we're very simple. I think girls would critique what you drink. Critique how you eat.
Right.
They'll probably critique how you order something.
Yes.
They'll find all kinds of fucking shit that you'll not even think about.
There's a direct correlation, according to Carl dos Santos, between girl fat and girl vat. That's a good point. That is a very good point indeed. There's also this, which I thought is interesting. Maths, like my spelling, is as bad as Gareth. Okay. Some of us are just cringeworthy, says Masejo Tuflower. But start off with that name. Let's tidy that up, and then we can get on to the rest. Then we've got Carl's Ballas down the mines. People really like this idea of down in the mines. People really like this idea. I'm so glad I found it for you because, you know, what would you do without having something to laugh about this Friday morning? Here's something great. So Gary is this dude who wanted to he got one of those planes that leaves a smoke trail to write a message in the sky. Gary's in love with a girl called Doris, but I just think the pilot got a little bit lazy towards the end. Have a look. Gary loves... Doesn't look like Doris. Okay, it really doesn't. So it says Gary loves penis. Because if you do Doris in a sloppy way, then you're going to get penis.
Well, Gary's going to have a night of some kind. Maybe not the one he expected.
I just... good intentions, just badly executed.
It could also be gay loves penis.
No, that's Gary. You could see that there's a lot of effort put into the Gary, not so much into Doris.
Sure, but Gary's going to become gay.
You think?
Well, yeah. Well, his love for penis might perpetuate
his
that.
love for penis might make that fast.
Yeah, writing in the sky is tricky.
Well, here's a preacher that would never tolerate that from Gary.
Nigerian?
No, this guy is an American preacher.
Oh, wow.
We had a Nigerian preacher, remember the other day, who was ranting and raving about pussy and how bad that is, right? And how evil it is.
No,
and how
you mustn't live your life through your pussy.
And you will perish in the fires of hell. Well,
even if you got a creamier pussy.
Right. So here's a different preacher. This guy is, it's amazing to me, like, sincerely, I do not understand why someone gets this hooked on one topic, But this is his thing, and he's gonna get his message across no matter. He's gonna beat it into your brain. This pastor would not like the aforementioned Gary for this reason.
Gonna put a cancer in the butthole. God's gonna put a cancer in the butthole of every sodomite. Every sodomite's butthole will get cancer in the butthole. It'll burn and burn and burn. They won't be able to sit down because of the burning in their butthole. He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole. God's going to have a flame coming out of your butthole. You're going to have a flame coming out of your butthole. If you thought that AIDS was bad, you ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole. Your butthole will be flaming, and you will not be able to sit down until you have a flame coming out of your butthole. And there'll be people walking around all over America with flames coming out of their butthole. And everyone who takes it up the rear, everyone who has a penis injected in his butthole, when that penis comes out, the flame will start burning, because ain't nobody gonna stick no penis in that flame. That flame will be an eternal flame coming out of the butthole of every sodomite. Flame coming out of the butthole, flame coming out of your butt. That man pulls that penis out of you, a flame is going to come out, and nobody will ever stick a penis in your butthole.
Well, that's what Gary's weekend's going to be about.
I can't understand why everybody isn't attending that guy's church. He's tremendously entertaining. Did you hear the Hammond organ playing in the background?
The organ was quite something. That really had severity.
A butthole was every second word. Flames out of butthole. The guy's very, very uptight about this. I love it.
So
I think he's terrific.
If you have friends who won't take chairs this weekend, it's because of the flames.
There we go. So watch them carefully, everybody. Figure out which of your friends are going to have a flaming butthole in hell. Because they can't sit down. That's what he said. They can't even sit down. He says, this makes AIDS look tame.
You thought AIDS was bad.
He said, yeah, you thought AIDS was bad. What a guy. You know, church, I really think I should have got into that business. It's a big, big regret of mine. I don't have a lot of regrets.
You can still do it, because that's the thing. It's not too late.
Oh, no.
You will still be seen as young.
People will see through it, though.
I
could have pulled it off from the beginning.
Drop a couple of bumhole sermons like that.
Sermons.
You'll be right on the market.
And perishing pussies in hell.
A couple of miracles, I reckon you'd be fine.
And you must be very judgmental. Which we do every day, frankly.
And get the organ music just right.
James, Monday's show, we're starting with some organ music. Okay. Let's do a rehearsal, see how it goes. And if it works...
Well, I mean, like baby steps, Gareth. Start the show with the organ and then just basically shout down on people for 5 minutes.
Shout at them. Just
for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Just ruin their whole day.
Ease into the rest of your day, but start off with that friendly 5.
We need a choir. Well, we've had a choir. We've always had a choir with my show. But I don't feel we want to start too strong. You got to start with the organ music and just really shitting on people's lives. Just take people who are already trying their best, but they're failing, and make them feel worse. And then say to them, but it's not all in vain, because there's still the afterlife. You may be a total fuck up in this life, but the afterlife is for you. That's what that's what they're selling. If you just, it's down in the mines, but you eventually will come out of the mine. That's what you're really selling people. Hope and change, right?
Yeah, I think you've just given yourself your unique selling point there, is that you're damning people to the mines for what they do.
Yes.
But you also have the ability to get them out of the mine.
Right.
Through the righteousness, you can do this.
Right.
Easy.
Oh my God, says Rebellious Ruth, that was so bad, cringe. Not me, but the actual preacher, I assume. My girlfriend says I'm on rations now, says Durban Dope, because of sharing that information about the ice spine, I think. Was that even Durban Dope? Flame buttholes down in the Zama Zama mines, says Bitcoin But. He's a one-track mind guy, Bitcoin But. He was thinking about Bitcoin at the start of the show. Now he's just thinking down in the mines. Anyone that has buttholes on their mind as much as this guy must be enjoying it themselves. Always.
He knows the burning. That's why he speaks so passionately.
I mean, he can speak with authority, right? You can tell. He's deadly serious about it.
He's also on a cushion.
Probably. One of those ones with tassels on the corners. That's what I'm thinking. All true pastors pay their TV license. I'll never get away with this. Funny, when I went to the SABC last Friday for Tabo's memorial thing, I walked past. They've got a dedicated office there in the foyer. By the way, it looks like a ghost town, I just got to say. They got a dedicated TV license paying office, and I walked past with such pride. I know the rest of you people, including me, and in this respect, we used to walk past those e-toll booths in the shopping malls, and we would laugh and cajole and poke and point and ridicule and mock and just mercilessly attack those poor people who sat in those e-toll booths and picked their noses because no one ever went there. They were the least visited places in a South African shopping mall, and that's saying something. Because, even those little kind of fly-by-night cash laundry shops, the ones that you can tell they're just washing money, even they get a visitor every now and then. Even though the people in the shops spoke only Chinese, they still got visitors. But not those e-toll things. Well, I know now how it feels to walk past the TV license booth and know that I'm the only person in that building who paid it. Felt superior for a minute. Just a minute. It was enough. It was a minor high. It was a minor high in my day, but I'm allowed. Those pastors probably have some dark secrets. Yeah, I'm sure they do. Speaking of church, you got to watch Righteous Gemstones. Shows what a business religion is. It's really funny. So this is a fun show, apparently. My sister and her boyfriend told me about it 2 weeks ago. I haven't got to it yet, but apparently it is hilarious. It's about this family who run a charismatic evangelical type church. I can't remember who's in it, but I've been told it's very good. So that's a show to watch. The e-toll booth at Leanne's Mall had a massive storefront. Leanne was she was like the like I am to TV licenses, so Leanne was to e-tolls.
Still, she'll comply till she dies, huh?
Oh yeah, big time. Now she's still got the tag on her car. She's very proud of it. I don't show off my TV license.
But here we are, 5 minutes later.
I'm still talking about it. I'm going to, and you keep bringing it up. I'm going to keep on talking about it. Okay, talking about e-tolls. Like, what did Joburgers really pay for in Joburg in the past 4 days? And the roads. Okay, so one thing I noticed, talking about Joburg just for a second, you might have noticed this too, Ben. Metro cops have been all over the place. They always are around Easter time. They always say it's because they want to keep us safe because of the Easter death toll, right? Which apparently was 0 this year. I stand to be corrected.
No, it was less. It was less.
It was. I heard 0 at some point. Fucking liars.
Do you really think no one's going to die in Mpumalanga?
No, I thought it was nonsense, but that's what they said. Propaganda, even I'm not impervious. Here's the thing I want to talk about is that these guys were everywhere. Do you know what my suspicion is? It's been raining so much. It's very hard to elicit bribes from people in the rain. In fact, it's hard to set up roadblocks.
Yeah, it's very tough.
You have to get wet. It's uncomfortable. People drive differently in the rain. You know what I mean. I think they didn't get their quota of bribes and money in, and they've been working super hard before it gets too cold, which is another unpleasant, off-putting thing. They don't like the cold. Because, the Metro cops are really...
You got to tend your fields while you can.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think that they were eliciting a maximum of bribes over these public holidays, long weekends. I was probably stopped about 5 or 6 times, and I was only really traveling around by car during the day. So they were out there working hard, man, doing their damnedest to just extract and squeeze that last little bit of cash out of all of us. And I'm telling you, it's because of the rain. The rain has dented their income. Okay, a couple other things here. It's expensive booze. Duh, says Dave. I don't know what that refers to. But I actually had a very relaxed kind of Easter weekend. I didn't do a whole lot. And I thoroughly enjoyed not being hungover. That's always a big plus.
Very nice.
Whether that lasts very long, I don't know. The kids need to get new school shoes for winter. That's why they were out extrapolating funds. Yes, I do like the word extrapolating. Cold drink economists down in the mine. There's lots of that going on. All right, so I want to talk about something else because Ben has various things on his agenda. Chief among them is what women find attractive and how Ollie Meurs can help. All right, remind me who Ollie Meurs is again? Musician?
Yeah, let's go with English United Kingdom celebrity person.
Okay.
James,
And
he makes music, right?
He's an authority. Is that him?
Well,
that's Ollie Meurs.
So this poll went out on X. Somebody wanted to know, like, you know, when it has someone has a dad bod,
yeah,
and then people through various times of their life they lose weight or get into shape,
sure,
and then the corresponding thing to this picture was a poll about what guys think and what women think.
Okay.
So the first picture is, of course, him looking more traditional dad bod. The next
Sure.
picture is probably around 8% body fat, and he's been
Yeah, but
working
also
out.
wearing those very porno shorts. I mean,
Yeah. So
who needs that?
So men before said 24% of the picture, the before picture looked better. Men said 43 said the after picture looked better.
Right.
But then the women, it's the converse of that. 27% said that the before picture was better, and only 7% of female voters, a decent pool, said that he looked better when he was ripped.
So basically, if you're going to get into tremendous shape as a guy, you're going to get attention from the gays, not the women.
Well, I would say men in general, because men strive to look like that. Everyone has that sort of opinion.
The gays.
Gareth, I don't think it was such a big leap to go
think
straight
that's
for the
it.
bum.
I think that's it.
It's more about what guys...
Butthole! I'm telling you, it's all about the butthole!
You went straight back to
No,
the
I'm
flames.
telling you. It's the flaming buttholes. So, in other words, as a guy, you would assume that as you get into better and better shape, you'll be more attractive to women. But men will rate you higher.
Yes.
If you get very fit.
But the whole thing about the women is that...
What do we do?
Women say that they prefer the guy on the left because I believe, and this is just my opinion...
Let's just see that picture again, because maybe the guy on the left wasn't so bad. Okay, so the guy on the left...
so the guy on the left...
It's more the clothes that are... I would think the clothes are more acceptable. You see, the guy on the right's kind of full of himself. He's wearing these porno short things, which... underwear or whatever, but... You would have to be... I think it's a confidence thing, too. The guy on the left looks less intimidating.
That's what it comes down to, right?
Less self-absorbed,
Yes.
let's say.
Correct.
It's not really about the abs. You see,
Correct.
we would think it's probably about the abs, and he's in better shape, lower body fat, all of that stuff. He probably feels a whole lot better about himself. Probably doesn't eat as much. But the guy on the left looks friendlier. He looks less intimidating. He looks more self-assured in a kind of quiet, confident way. And he's not full of himself, which to some people, particularly insecure people, particularly, it has to be said, a lot of single women, you don't want someone too confident because they're going to overwhelm you and remind you of how you don't have confidence. I don't think it's got to do with the abs. I've done the deep dive, Ben. I think
we're not talking
about the abs.
We're not talking about abs. It's talking about the fact that the guy on the right's in better shape and he's worked on himself.
Yes.
And I think what it comes down to is that people they're almost flabbergasted by this, but I just think it's just nature. Women will always be more attracted to the chubbier kind of guy. There's less competition around him as well. There's less attention around him, and there's a bigger chance that they can manipulate and control that sort of person.
Doesn't mean you want to be that guy, though.
But guys don't want to be that guy. So this is where the disconnect happens.
Oh.
Is that guys would prefer to be the ripped, strong guy because he has more options. He has a much more fun life. Trust me, everyone who's in better shape has a more fun life.
Yeah, I mean,
and
you don't
give me that whole
go, when you tie your shoelaces, for example.
give me that whole I don't care what I eat bullshit. Like, it makes you feel like
that
crap.
the old man noises that people who are out of shape start making from an early age when they or when they get up or when they sit down, they go.
Yeah,
those are terrible. That's a sure sign that you're unhappy.
So the guy on the right has more options about what he wants to do with his interests, and clearly got discipline. But it's about him. The guy on the left looks like he'll just go with the flow, and he will be dependable, and he's not going to do anything unpredictable. So I don't find this at all shocking. I just think some people do, though. And there's been lots of talk about this.
Well, it's
the last couple
interesting.
of
I mean,
weeks.
also, this would have been the poll. Participants in this poll would have mostly been British people who are just extraordinarily miserable people. Always will look for, they don't like anyone to put their head above the parapet wall either. British people are generally opposed to excellence. They want mediocrity, especially Britain from, circa 1980 on. I think that they specifically gravitate to people who are as ordinary as possible, so as not to upset and intimidate those who are less than ordinary.
But there's another thing about this poll that I think people need to look into and be honest about too, is that I know from when I was younger, and most young guys, you grow up thinking you must impress women, and what do you need to do in order to do that? But that takes you away from so many different things about just being a good person and developing yourself. So
deep thoughts from Ben.
So this poll highlights something that I always believe is that men should actually look to impress men rather than impress women. And I don't mean this in a bumhole sense.
Yeah, sure. Butthole, flaming butthole.
I don't mean this you can't sit down sense. I mean this in that men are more valuable to men than women are ultimately. It's basically how you have your network. It's your support group. It's your friend group. It's mostly around your career, and it's your future. If you are only putting your eggs in impressing women, it's a very small part of life in the greater scheme of things.
I want to just zero in on probably what's even more central to that truth is that it's not even about impressing. It's about being happy with yourself primarily. And I don't mean that in some kind of self-absorbed way either. If you are not content to be you, and you don't enjoy being yourself, and you would prefer to be someone else, or you think that there's a version of yourself that is so much better and so much out of reach that you're dissatisfied with the person you are, you're just fucked from the start. You won't even get out of the blocks.
Very
right?
important fundamental.
So it's less about impressing anybody else and more about just being satisfied to be yourself, which is, for most people, the most complicated thing they'll ever do in their lives. And it's also what the ancient Greek philosophers always told us was the toughest part of life, is to get to know thyself and to get to like yourself, warts and all. You don't like the bad things, but you got to know they exist. Be content to deal with them.
Yeah, that's obviously plan A. That's the goal of every person's life.
Sure, but because trust me, that person is attractive.
Yes, but in the context of what this poll represents and what people discuss, because it's always about taking sides, right?
Yeah, but people don't know what the fuck they want. Yeah, if Steve Jobs said once, if he'd asked people what kind of computer they'd like, they would have just told him what they already had was good enough, but just a little faster or whatever. Henry Ford always joked if he'd done research and asked people about what they'd like to travel in, they'd never have come up with a car. They would have said they wanted faster horses.
Yes, exactly.
So there are two kinds of people. They're the people who really know what they want and are very clear about that and will give you feedback when you research them, when you ask them questions about what they want. And they have also the ability to think outside of the box. But they're a tiny, tiny minority of people. Most polls, most research, most data that is gathered these days is from people who don't know what the fuck they want. So they have no idea. I guarantee you that most of those people who were polled in that Ollie Mears thing are probably also people who don't think terribly much about anything except themselves. So it's always in response to something that they react to.
Their reference points.
Yeah. So how do I, you could be talking about a economic crisis in Kazakhstan, and most people will insert themselves into the conversation by saying, I've never been to Kazakhstan. Like, that's not what we were talking about. It wasn't about your travel itinerary or the fact that you haven't been to Kazakhstan, and don't make it about you. It's actually about the economy of Kazakhstan. Very difficult for people to do that. So you say Ollie Mears, they're like, well, I don't think he's attractive, or I wouldn't be with him, or I've got a husband, or I've got a girlfriend, or whatever. It's always me, 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 me. People can't be asked about these things. They don't know. They're going to fuck it up. That's what I think. Can we talk about Katy Perry quickly? Because we've only got a
Absolutely.
couple of minutes, and this is very important.
Absolutely
There's a
have to.
universe that none of
Very
us knew
important.
about. So Ben's going to open the windows of the spacecraft that Katy. We finally know why she was on that spacecraft. It's been boggling my mind for the longest time. I thought, she's a pop star. She's friends with Jeff Bezos' wife. Surely that's enough. But no, it turns out that Katy Perry is, in fact, the central tent peg in an enormous, great carnival tent of things.
So there's a website called katycats.com.
Right.
So you get fan groups.
Yes.
Like what's Taylor
Like
Swift's?
the
James?
the
What?
Swifties.
Okay, there we
and
go.
there's the Bayhive with Beyonce's
So
people.
Katy Perry has her thing, right?
The Katy Cats.
So as always, we'll try to find bullshit things to talk about on a Friday. The Katy Perry feels that she's become a massive victim online of all this abuse that she's been getting from that flight. So much so that her fan group then basically all chipped together and bought a billboard in New York. To promote her new tour, which is going out, which is like she can do everything, and now she's going to be touring, blah blah. So I thought, okay, what the fuck's that? So she's got this Katy Cats is the thing, which you can then go, and this website is really impressive.
Really,
it's all her fans that come together, and you can talk. Not that anyone here would want to do that. You can talk with other Katy Perry fans.
Oh God!
And she's created this
This is like those
ecosystem.
underground, those people who are into like S&M and torture and standing on balls, and they all form these communities online, right?
And then within that, they form their own groups. So then, like, for example, if you wanted to create Katy Cats Joburg, you could then...
you could be the chapter boss.
You could chapter boss
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
We could have James...
Oh, yeah.
We could have James's face as a profile pic.
James, you could be the chapter boss of the Katy Cats here in Joburg. I know you
And then-
dream about that.
And then we would
yeah.
attract people from around the world to then join our little
Our
chapter of this.
It says here on this Google search I've just done, Katy Perry, known for her hits like Teenage Dream and Raw, has a dedicated fan base called Katy Cats. They're known for their enthusiastic support and often participate in online communities to discuss their favorite songs and news about the singer. But apparently, Katy Cats and Swifties do not get along.
Oh, they'd have to have beef.
They hate each other.
Of course. It's like Drake versus Kendrick Lamar fans. I mean, you'd have to have that.
Yeah. I mean, it says here, historical rivalry. While there was a period of rivalry between Taylor Swift and Katy Perry, they have since reconciled and publicly expressed support for each other. But a lot of their fans have not. They won't let it go.
Guys, this is like sports teams
Shit, you
all
taught
over
me-
again.
you
huh?
taught me a whole new,
It's sports teams
okay.
all over again. This is like the Man United of the transgenders or whatever.
KatyCats.com. Look at this. Look at this website. This is phenomenal. And of course, they would have defended her quite vigorously.
Of course.
For her space trip, which we all called
groundbreaking, how she's gone where no other woman's been before. They would all get into that, of course.
You can discover new friends. You can find the latest news. You can spread the Katy Cat love. And there's exclusive content. But you have to log in for that, and I'm not going to do that. They've got tour information, most popular groups, and man, are there a ton of groups.
Gareth,
right?
We know someone in our world that goes onto this website.
We do?
I don't know. I don't know the name.
I would love to know who.
But in our lives, somewhere on
There's
this
got to be
weekend,
one, yeah.
Someone knows a Katy Cat.
Danny Katy Cat, Brian J. Krauser. It's embarrassing. Jake B4KP. There are even guys on here.
Of course.
Simply
It's like Ryan used to work for you. He was the biggest Swiftie because I think that's probably how
true. He was.
He probably thought that's how he meets girls.
Yeah, and he might not be wrong.
Imagine being a guy being obsessed with Taylor Swift. Like, have you at that stage
it's
sawn off your own penis?
Yeah, it's bad. I see here also they have frequently asked questions.
Well, you would imagine that would happen often.
Who runs KatyCats.com? It's an initiative of the
George
old
Soros.
Katy Perry Forum. Well, it's definitely George Soros. You can find us at Lazy Blazy, Cotton Candy, and Ingy are the admins, and basically are in charge of everything.
Satanists.
Yeah, Lazy Blazy. What, you don't know who these people are? Cotton Candy and Ingy. Come on, stay with us. Olivia helps with keeping
Who are
the
we
calendar up to
pretending
date.
for? We're pretending for Katie. That's what we were pretending.
Are you Katie? Who knows? That's what it says. Are you Katie? Is it a frequently asked question? The reply is, who knows? Yeah, who knows? Everything's just a great big mystery. I could be Katy Perry. I am amazed, though. I mean, this is quite something that even Katy Perry, who's about as mediocre a pop star as you can get, and she's got this wild, vibrant fan universe that exists. Phenomenal. Well done, Katie. I mean, what can I tell you? That's just spectacular.
But you know what must be really cringe is when she has to meet some of these fucking people, because you know that she would rather eat her own arsehole than do that. And she'd have to go and have like a meet and greet at some stage. Oh, I love you guys so much.
Yeah, and she has to, yeah. And then occasionally they'll say to her, like, Katie, would you do like you'll go and have a McDonald's burger with one of your fans, and we're going to do a random draw, like a tombola or something. And then you're going to win a hamburger with Katy Perry. And then she has to sit there and go, how long have you been a fan? And, you know, what song's your favorite song? And shit like that no one cares about except this person. Are you ever going to get an update on the Truth Report? It's coming. Just calm your tits, all right, Ricky Lowe? It's Rob Hersov. He runs Katy Cats. You think his newfound fame is by chance? Carl DeSantos. Listen, she's worth more than the rest of us at the end of the day, says Rebellious Ruth. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to take that away from her.
Well, yeah, she's a massive pop star.
Yeah, she's made tons of money, but I'll wager the bank, which in my case is not a lot, but I don't think Katy Perry is as happy as I am, or as Ben, or as James, or as Flex, or even as you, Rebellious Ruth. I don't think she's as happy as you are. I think she's got a gnawing in her soul. This is why she got upset when we dared to criticize her for going to space. Because, like, I think she's desperately insecure. I don't know. I might be horribly wrong. I get the distinct impression that Katy Perry is not a happy person. You know how I was lied to about I got 10% of what I was promised? I reckon 80% of Katy Perry's outward expression is fake. 80% of it.
Well, it's a character.
Yeah, the real Katy Perry's not having the best time on planet Earth right now, even though she's had tremendous success and she has talent and she has an ability, and I don't take away any of her success from her. But is she a happy person? Would you want to spend a week on an island with Katy Perry?
No. I think also what it comes back to is that all these celebrities is that they have such a hard job trying to find thyself and that kind of stuff.
I'd tell you who I would. I'd spend a week with Adele. She'd be fun as fuck.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
So you know how you brought up the Ollie Murs pictures? Like, I've just realized, as much as I'm an aesthete, I'm into beautiful things. So I'd like to be around a beautiful woman on an island for longer. Adele's she's not a 10 out of 10 looks-wise, but she would make me laugh. I'd have a fantastic time with her.
Yeah.
She'd be great company. And that would make me choose her over, pretty much anybody. And there are a couple of people like that in the world that you do want to be around. So there's the exception to the rule. We found it. I don't have a failed marriage. That already makes me better than Katy Perry, says Congo Chris.
Oh, well, there's the truth.
Down in the mines for people who don't listen to this show. Yes, absolutely. Let's buy a billboard and put that on, because someone says here we should chip in for a billboard. Most are down in the mines.
Yeah, all you fuckers in the comments section. Katy Cat's made a billboard for Katie's tour coming up. What have you done for Gareth lately? Why you never give him?
Please don't put a billboard. I've had billboards.
No, please do. It'll be so funny.
I don't want a billboard.
It'll be so funny, and you'll come up with something. Gareth, it'll be hilarious.
But all of you. Imagine you're driving an N1. All of you down in the mines.
You can go to somewhere in Kempton Park. You can pick one up for like $300 for a month.
You reckon? Some horrible billboard.
I don't think billboard industry is what it used to be.
Ricky Gervais and Steve Carroll, they'd be fun. Down in the mines or on an island. The only celeb I'd hang out with is Charlie Sheen. Maybe Gareth Cliff is a backup option, says Congo Chris. Yeah, Charlie Sheen. I'd have preferred to have known Charlie Sheen in my 30s.
Yeah.
That's the time you want to be Charlie Sheen's friend. I think he's a bit burnt out now.
Absolutely.
And I think he would.
Also with the AIDS, right?
Yeah. The AIDS, the drugs. I don't think it's a happy scenario there either, frankly. I don't think people are like lining up to spend a day in the company of Charlie Sheen.
But all these celebrities' lives are optimized for your 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Yes,
After that,
100%.
they have no way of functioning because they're outside of being desirable. Yeah. Celebrities and stars, their whole life is to be desired.
So who's a good role model for your 40s?
George
Male
Clooney.
and female. Clooney?
Absolutely George Clooney because he was later to the fame game.
Yeah.
And he was always pitched as the gentleman actor.
Right.
So he wasn't doing fucking weird shit and I don't know.
And your 50s? Is there someone that's an appropriate role model for that?
George Clooney, because
so basically from 40 on, it's George Clooney.
It is, because that's just the guy who's done it right.
Who's a good role model for women in their 40s and 50s? You can hit a blank.
No, I mean, there isn't one. How can there be?
Come on. What kind of a thing is that to say?
Not a nice thing, but I'm here for friends, Gareth.
Well,
can you come up with one?
Yeah, I get there. There, Joanna Lumley.
Yeah, but now we're talking about something different. She's funny.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay.
Adele, even. I don't know what she is. But these are the people we're talking about now.
But we've established they're real people. We're talking about stars. Who's a role model who is a star?
Oh, a star.
Yeah, we can it's easy to talk about people like that.
What was that? Did you just put a duck on the screen? I just saw a duck flash.
We're talking about stars who's all about what they look like. What's the goal? What's the role model?
Old Jim Carrey, not currently awakened version. Yeah, that's good. Halle Berry, role model for women in 40s and 50s, says Yonder. I think she'd be fun to be around. I just don't know if she's role model material. Gareth, you used to call Adele woman with head like pig, and look at her now. She's gone 90%. Yeah, it's like Roseanne, right? I mean, Roseanne used to be the ugliest woman on television and the fattest. And now Roseanne is way better than Madonna. And so many people of that era that she could be compared with.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'd rather, like Roseanne, I'd like to spend time. She's crazy as fuck, but I'd like to spend time with Roseanne. I wouldn't say role model, but yeah.
She's got a massive nut farm in Hawaii. I think that's her game
She's
now.
fascinating, man. She's very, very interesting. Charlie Sheen hasn't been fun since he stopped drinking tiger blood, says Sanele, which is correct. If you really want to know what's worse, AIDS or cancer, I think Charlie Sheen's the guy to ask. Probably. Megyn Kelly she's great. How about her? That's a good suggestion from Carl DeSantos.
She's not a star. She's a news
She's
person.
a star. She's a big deal.
Yeah, but she's a career person.
Okay.
So she'll have qualities.
Okay. You're saying stars only.
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman? You don't think she's
into that look, I guess?
No, but she's a star. Role model-wise?
On what grounds?
I don't know. It seems to me
you
like
ever heard
she's
of
kept her
anything
shit
about
together. She's managed this relationship with that country singer that she's been in for a while.
I bet she's got a cookbook and she's made something with a goat's fucking semen.
No, Ben.
You know those women, they do these...
No, you're thinking of Goop. You're thinking of old... what's the one who married Chris Martin?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow. She's that kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Not Nicole Kidman's not like that. I don't think she's a problem. Gwyneth Paltrow, awful, I'm sure.
So she's 57, Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, she looks fucking great for 57.
She really does.
She's kept her shit together. She's got the star look.
Okay,
It's
cool. She gets the
not
votes.
everybody's cup
Yeah.
of tea, but let's put her in.
Great.
Someone says Pierce Brosnan. Selma Hayek. Selma Hayek. What a great example. Selma Hayek is
I'm really happy that we're
phenomenal.
uncovering and options
And
here.
I'll tell you why she's phenomenal. Quite apart from her movie career, the fact that she still looks spectacular, the fact that she's managed to marry a gazillionaire. You know, she's married to the guy who is basically the heir to the Hermès, Louis Vuitton, LVMH
I know
empire.
she did well there.
Right?
Yeah.
She is like prime. She's just example number one of a woman who never, nothing's too much for her to aim for. And she keeps on impressing. Apart from that, she's also hugely intelligent. I'm told she's sophisticated as hell.
But that was...
And can tell you things about art that you would never expect to hear.
Well, that's her environment now.
Sure.
Because it's sitting in her house.
Sure.
But like she came to Hollywood not really speaking English, but she
No.
knew She knew that her stepping stone to all these things was to become a star.
Yeah,
So
I mean, she was
leveraged
in
that.
one of my favorite movies, From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes, and she leveraged that.
Yeah.
And now look where she is.
She's terrific.
Top of the pile.
So there we go. Great role model.
Amazing.
Selma Hayek.
I'm glad that we went down this road.
Nicole Kidman is making movies making movies fucking younger men of late. She's scratching an itch, says Rebellious Ruth. Hey, don't go knock it. Kylie Minogue, says Rebellious Ruth too, is also a good example. I'd rather do my Lemma's tax return than spend 15 minutes with Nicole Kidman, says Carl. Felicia Mabuza Sattel, she came up on the show the other day. Paltrow is annoying. Only an annoying person would name their child Apple. Okay, we got to draw this to a close. We've run past the finish line on this one. But you see, there are lots. You just got to think a little bit. I love the suggestions. Well done to everybody who came up with these names. What a fun morning, and I hope you have an excellent weekend. Enjoy it. And on Monday, back to work down in the mines. No excuses.
Short weeks down in the mines.
Down in the mines. Let's go.
More jobs, less automation. Yeah! Prioritize education. Yeah! More income in this nation. Yeah! We got the answer with a tiny bit of legislation. Kids, back down the mines. Yeah! Kids, back down the mines. Yeah! Kids, back down the mines. Kids, back down the mines. Alright, so you're not all sold on that one, so we'll try another angle, okay? Equal opportunities. Yeah! Include the minorities. Yeah! Help to all the refugees. Yeah! We got the answer if you give us some authority. Immigrants down in the mines. Yeah! Immigrants down in the mines. Yeah! Immigrants down in the mines. Immigrants down in the mines. It's a tough crowd.
Stop talking about mine.
You give it a go then.
Help folks to reach some success. Recognize the skills they possess. It's time for us to progress.
Installing ramps for easy access. Come on everyone, you all know the word. Disabled people down in the mines. Yeah! Disabled people down in the mines. Disabled people down in the mines. Disabled people down.